Everybody. My name is Lisa Milady. I'm an elementary school counselor in Copeg, New York, which is on Long Island, and I welcome you today. So far, we have 257 participants, and we are strong and we are ready. And I hope today you'll do your thing. For those of you who live on Long Island, I picked up the newspaper this morning, and the headline said, "Pandemic Toll on Students' Mental Health." And I thought to myself, what a perfect day to join together with professionals to talk about social and emotional learning. As counselors, we are charged with teaching skills and giving students the tools they need to fortify their mental health. We, as counselors, are strong. We are capable. We reach our students, but today what we are going to talk about is reaching out with teachers and administrators and parents. And when we all come together, we can reach the masses by creating a language that an entire school understands, that speaks to positive self-esteem and social awareness. Then we are doing what New York State has asked us to do. Through social and emotional learning, we are graduating students ready to be productive citizens. Today, get ready. We will explore how you can grow a program packed with social and emotional learning. Our goal is to inspire.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Lisa's one of our key presenters today, but I'm Gloria Jean, and I'm the project coordinator for this project. This is our planning team and our presenting team. We are counselors, directors, and counselor educators from across New York State. And this program was made possible with the work and dedication of many people. First, to thank the NYSCA Executive Board, which advocates for school counselors at the state level and works tirelessly to develop materials to help school counselors and directors across the field. Second, previous NYSCA Executive Board members who continue to work on behalf of the profession, sharing their expertise. So I'm honored to be working with the Champ Camp 2.0 team, which is comprised of current and former NYSCA board members, all working in the field as school counselors, directors, and counselor educators. We put our heads together and drew from our work experience to bring this program to you. The original Champ Camp was developed to inform school counselors and support implementation of the revised SED regulation on comprehensive school counseling program requirements. Many years of work went into the development of this regulation revision to ensure it reflected our professional standards as established by the American School Counselor Association. The SED regulation guidance document provided additional information on what the regulation means and answered many of the questions that came to SED's attention during the long regulation adoption process. All these materials, as well as additional ones from NYSCA developed to continue this process of interpreting and informing, are available on the NYSCA website under Professional Development. In summer 2018, a team of NYSCA trainers traveled to 4 locations in New York State to provide a full-day training on the new regulation. Through this training opportunity, NYSCA was able to provide supportive materials, help answer questions from the field, and assist schools with the important process of evaluating and often redesigning their school counseling program. It was intensive and intense, and there was immediate demand for additional programs. All of those materials are available on the NYSCA website on the Champ Camp 2 page. It's important to mention that the regulation revision was based on the ASCA National Model, now in its 4th edition. We can't overstate the importance of being familiar and knowledgeable of the 4 ASCA model components: define, manage, deliver, and assess. These form the core of your program development. ASCA also provides our student standards known as mindsets and behaviors for student success, as well as our professional standards and competencies and professional ethics. Champ Camp 2.0, therefore, picks up where the first Champ Camp left off. The 5 programs in this series are designed to support full implementation of the regulation requirements. Word from the field has helped us determine where school counselors would benefit from additional assistance. It was made possible through the generous funding of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. One of the intentions of the foundation is to provide professional development free of charge to school counselors across New York State. To live up to this intention, we are recording today's program and providing it to NYSCA members and non-members through NYSCA's YouTube channel and on our website. Before I turn the program over to today's main presenters, I would like to ask you to consider membership in NYSCA. Even though you're able to access this program and others for free, your membership dues help support all our activities, especially advocacy at the state level. If you're not already a member, please consider joining NYSCA. We're working to support funding for schools to reduce the counselor-student ratio and to provide more trainings like this one. We need to inform principals on how better ratios and full implementation of the regulation actually supports their school's goals. We hope you will join with us. With greater numbers, our voice will be heard. Today, we're learning about the development of social emotional lessons, one of the new requirements in the regulation revision. And we thank you for joining us today. I now turn it back to our trainers and invite you to introduce yourself, Lisa and Christy.
All right, I'll go first real quick, and then I'm going to hand it over to Christy. I'm Lisa Milady. I'm an elementary school counselor. I've been working as a counselor in the same elementary school for 30 years. I'm a recent board member to NYSCA, and I can't speak enough to the work that we are doing to help each and every one of you. So truly consider becoming a member. And to my girl, Christy.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Christy LeBron. I am school counselor, high school counselor at Gotham Collaborative High School in the Bronx. Prior to that, I worked at the Academy of Urban Planning in Bushwick, Brooklyn. 15 years in the field, super passionate about the work that I do. NYSCA member and also board member for probably about 8 years now. Thank you to Gloria, who I met at an ASCA conference one day. And I shared her passion in school counseling and signed up for the leadership grant through NYSCA and became involved. So again, I'm looking forward to spending some time with you all this afternoon and sharing some of the information that we have that we've try to master at our own schools and share our passion and our love for the field and our love and passion for our young people. We want to let you know that all of our handouts will be available on our NYSCA website at nysca.org, Champ Camp 2. I know that Gloria has already mentioned that. Links will be shared both in the chat box throughout the session, and you can find them also on our website. And we encourage you to participate in our sessions with feedback and with questions, and we will do our best to try and get to everything that we can possibly get to, that time allows us. Usually it doesn't, but all right. So we wanted to share this video, and are you, all right, don't forget 110.
Regardless of where we stood, 2020 shifted the ground beneath our feet, leaving some of us overwhelmed, some of us uncertain, and yet so many of us activated. In this moment, we can choose to connect and co-create the future that is calling us forward. A future that prioritizes safety over control, solidarity over division, and connection and care, especially in public education. School as we know it, real life, in person, is critical to our social well-being. However, education must advance further on its path to justice and honoring each student's voice, because we've never fully realized an integrated and equitable education system. Now is the time to be active participants in creating a culture of liberation, healing, and deep connection to ourselves and our communities, our children, and the natural world. This.
Awesome. So this video is from Morningside Center for Teaching and Social Responsibility. And it really resonated with me when I saw it, because I just felt like it kind of like set like this foundation for me and said, okay, what is this next semester? What is this next couple of months gonna, how am I gonna activate? And when it says like, now is the time to be active participants in creating a culture of liberation, healing, and deep connection to ourselves and our communities, our children, and the natural world. I just felt like, all right, this is a good way for us to start, right? Because social emotional learning is that in itself. That's in the forefront of it. So I wanted to share that with you all. I wanted to give them credit, of course, because it's not ours. We didn't create it. But we never have to reinvent the wheel, right? Someone has done it out there, and they're happy to allow us to share that video.
I got chills watching that, Christy. Every time. Every
Next
time.
slide, Gloria.
All right. We're up to 321 participants. And if you were here in the beginning, Christy and I, we were all shouting out to each other. So I want to give a shout out right now to all of you from all over New York State. And we had someone from Jersey, which is awesome. I want to give a shout out to all the people in elementary school and middle school and high school and interns. We have some interns who are here right now. People are studying, and we hope to inspire. I want to give a shout out to those people who have a caseload in the few hundreds, or a shout out to those people who have the caseload in the thousands, because we have some people who work at one school. We have some people who work at 5 schools. Our goal today is to help you work smart. I know you're all hard workers. I know that's why you're here. And we are going to give you ideas on how to work smart, to incorporate social and emotional learning. Our teachers have their own curriculum. Our teachers have their duty to do their own thing. If we can incorporate and work with them in school-wide programs, paying attention to social and emotional learning, then we're doing the right thing. Today, we're going to plant seeds. Christy, she is a powerhouse, rockin'. She's going to give you ideas. You're going to say, how did she get all that in place? And I hope as you are learning, you start with one small idea, one small seed. I've been doing this for 30 years too, and I have seen things grow and develop. So I want to reassure everyone out there that we're going to start small, but we're going to see growing big. So when you plant seeds today, in time, you will have the forest. I am jumping through the forest and loving the forest, and you too someday can have all of this that we're going to talk about today. Have faith in yourself. Start strong. You got this, Christy. I think you're going up next.
So we're doing a check-in. Next slide. All right, so let's check in with a Zoom poll. Okay, there we go. So this should be popping up. All right, do you feel you spend most of your time being proactive or reactive?
And we can play too, right?
Yes.
All right.
This is thinking about COVID-19 right now in the moment.
We are in the moment, so reflect on your feeling about your school. Are you being proactive? Are you being reactive?
Yeah, great question, Felina.
Oh, I love this. Look at everybody's voting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're at 77%. Keep going.
I love it. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah, we're growing. The votes are coming in.
Yes, 83%.
Nice.
We're going to give it a couple of more seconds.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Maybe next time we'll ask, do we think the Buffalo Bills should have won? We'll get more immediate response. No, you guys are doing great.
Yes. Okay, maybe 30 more seconds.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're doing good.
And we see that right now we are ahead of the game with being reactive. Almost,
Yeah.
But
50-50,
just, it's
right?
almost
Yeah.
split. It's
Yeah.
almost split, which makes my heart feel good that we have people out there thinking they're putting or knowing that they're being proactive, which helps the social and emotional learning base.
All right, I'm going to end polling.
All right. Thank you
Votes
all for
are in.
participating. We appreciate that. And I remember starting as a school counselor 15 years ago and not knowing what I didn't know, right? So we all know that you leave your master's program just full of theory and passion and energy, and then you get into the school system and then it's all different. And I spent a lot of time being reactive. And the more I learned about both my own needs and the needs of my students and the needs of our school, the needs of our community, I was a very lucky school counselor right out of, I was community-based organization before that. And then I was able to go back to my old high school and be a school counselor there. So that was a very unique opportunity that I was able to grow within and learn a lot because I knew what the community's needs were. I just didn't know how to do what I needed to do. Let's see if we can you, oh, here we go. So one of the things that really worked for me is figuring out, okay, what are our community needs and what can I do and how can I help? And how do I go from being reactive to being proactive? And we know that sometimes that's not entirely possible. Sometimes we have to be a little reactive, but how do we do a program that's mostly proactive, right? That they're meeting the needs of our students before something happens. Next slide, Gloria. So what does research tell us, right? Research tells us that with social emotional learning, that there's better academic performance, we have improved attitudes and behaviors, we have fewer negative behaviors, and we have reduced emotional stress. That's all important in working in a school, working in any environment, in your community, and supporting our students and our families. Gloria?
Just want to remind everyone that when you see the links, these are available on the NYSCA website, and also we have the links gathered at the end of the presentation.
And you can print it all out and you can get additional information inside.
And keeping those research findings in mind, we know that programs that address self-awareness, right? Students knowing themselves, our staff knowing themselves, being self-aware, self-management, competence in self-management domain requires skills, attitudes that facilitate the ability to regulate emotions, hence social emotional learning, emotions and behaviors. Social awareness, again, knowing our communities, knowing our families, knowing our staff, their strengths and where they need additional support. Relationship skills, how do we build those within our own school, right? I'm all about leverage leadership, and we'll talk more about that in another session, but building relationship skills with our students and with our families and with our communities. And then this responsible decision making, right? There's always an action, there's always a reaction to an action, right? And our young people need to know that, and our families need to know that, and we need to know that and be aware of that. So having programs that address all of these through the social emotional competencies support our families in a way that's very well-rounded. They're being supported in all areas. And the programs look different depending on where we're from and the communities that we're servicing. Gloria? So we're gonna take a quick little questions and feedback. You can put them in the chat. CASEL Learning this is an SEL strategy through CASEL. So we wanna make sure that we're modeling SEL strategies like the welcoming and greeting people as they come in, providing you all with high energy. That's also a SEL strategy. And then pausing and taking a break and saying, okay, do we need to ask questions and give feedback, or are we ready to move on?
I'm
So
waiting for the chat. You can write in the chat. You can raise your hand, I think. People have done that.
and we have our dear Kristen Scherer monitoring the chat,
Yeah.
letting us know where we need to break and not break, and where we can move on. All right,
We're good. I think we're good.
Good.
awesome.
All right. Okay. Look what I have in my hands. It is the CASEL Social and Emotional Learning 3 Signature Practices Playbook. What we're going to do today is go over the 3 signature practices. Inside this book, there are lesson plans and ideas, and it digs deep into social and emotional learning. So why did we pick this book to highlight? I'll tell you why. Because it sets a tone for learning. It also has intentional strategies that engages kids and fosters interactions between children. Kids can't learn just by hearing it. They have to do it. We have to get kids talking to each other. We have to get kids reflecting. And who is social and emotional learning for? It's actually for everyone. It's for parents, it's for counselors, it's for teachers, it's for administrators, it's for everyone. So when should you use social and emotional learning? Whenever you find yourself in front of 1 student, in front of 5 students, in front of 25 students, in front of 100 students. You should remember these 3 key strategies.
All right, next slide. All right, so the 3 key strategies. First one, welcome inclusion activities. And like I said, we were trying to model that, right? Welcome, let's jam together, let's come together, tell us where you're from, making connections. Oh, Buffalo, Brooklyn, the Bronx, New York City, Long Island, smiling warmly, greeting your people, your group, knowing your, know your setting, right? And make sure that you're inviting for your young people. We have whole group greeting activities, which is again modeled in what we did today. Another opportunity for an inclusion activity is a morning circle. That can be done both via Zoom, and that can be done in like a breakout room, or you can do it in a way that makes sense for your Zoom at the time, depending on what topic you're going to talk about. And then there are other interactive do nows. And we just wanted to quickly share one. So we can move on to the next slide. This would be an example of an interactive do now that I do with my students when they're jamming and coming into my class session. And I put a little brain teaser on there. So if you can all respond in the chat, what belongs to you, but others use it far more often than you use it? Hey, you were quick.
She was bad. Oh, look at that. Oh, good thing we didn't have to pay attention to see who got it first. Those fingers were flying. Oh my goodness. Oh, my bathroom. I like that one.
I love that one.
Or my
Your time.
name.
Yes.
Oh, that's deep.
Yes.
Oh.
These little brain teasers bring up, you see? Yes, your toothbrush. It is your name. It is your name. But these kinds of things bring up, even sometimes when our students know the answers, they just want to be silly. They just want to hype it up, and they just want to, they just want to say what they want to say and be who they want to be. And, they do things like that. Yes, your pencils. Absolutely. Absolutely. But the answer was your name. I got so many of these through Teachers Pay Teachers. I also got some of these through Google. So I don't invent anything. I'm not I'm not very creative, but I am good with borrowing and sharing what the information that I get and stuff like that. So we just want to kind of include that in there. So thank you for participating. We appreciate it. Gloria. All right. So engaging strategies. So again, we have brain breaks, right? Taking a stop in your lesson, right? If you're doing an SEL lesson and you're including these strategies, taking a brain break, and that would be an example of that. Another thing that I tend to use with my students, and I see them pretty often, 5 days a week in the morning, joke of the week. So I have my joke of the week, and sometimes that's linked to like pivot points, or it's linked to something. And then, it also gets them going, gets them while they're in their waiting room, or while they're, I'm getting myself together, they join early, we do a little joke of the week, and then, it starts conversation. The turn and talk, where we might present something, a topic, and we get students engaged and ask them to chat with others. Socratic seminar, which is very commonly used in a lot of educational settings. But I kind of throw in my own little vibe, and what are my kids interested in? What are my students, what's the word on the street, right? So it's like, all right, so let's talk about the best rapper. That's what our, some of my students connect with. I know my community, my students, my crowd. So I try to make sure that the conversations challenges that are happening are very specific to something that they're interested in, but still I can help develop their skills, because there's teachable moments in everything. And we want to make sure that we are utilizing what we have. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to work with what we have, and we have to include it to make sure that our students remain engaged. TV shows are super important. Game console systems, those kinds of things, sports, those are great examples where you can have a really serious conversation about what's happening and how they're connecting it with their lives today. That can be connected with the Jigsaw strategy. That could be a follow-up to a Socratic seminar where students are actually, by their comments and the information that they're sharing, they're teaching other students that may not be as confident to raise their hand or participate, but have now learned something either about that rap song or about that TV show, things of that nature. Lesson check-ins. Something that I actually learned from one of my interns from Mercy College, actually, was just like, throw something in the chat. How do I know my students are engaged when I have a student of if I have a class of 40 or 50 and some are participating and others are not? And so how do I know that they just didn't log into my Zoom and just not participate? Here, throw something in the chat. Everybody that puts a 7 in the chat, you get this, or I'll give you bonus points. Or maybe you're not paying attention and you're being marked absent today. That usually changes attitudes. But for the most part, I try to keep them engaged. They don't know what my next thing is going to be. So I try to learn from my community and grab all those resources and then use those strategies. And transition techniques. Making sure that they know it's a 5-minute heads up. We're ending soon. I want to make sure this gets done. Who needs my support? We have 2 more minutes. All right, don't forget. All right, we're down to 1 minute. We're down to 30 seconds. All right, so this is ending. And those are how I try to engage my students to make sure that they are, or trying to ensure that they're paying attention or they're engaged.
Hey, Christy.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat. We've got some people who want to know what the Jigsaw strategy is. I
can share that. So the Jigsaw strategy, and I actually have my notes, right? So it's a collaborative group activity with a twist. Students effectively teach each other with the teacher's guidance. Students learn through the process of communicating with one another about a given skill, procedure, topic, or problem. So that has worked with a Socratic seminar where I might bring up a lyric where, that might be like the brain teaser, where's this lyric from? And some people know it and some people may not know it. And then we start that conversation and why is this lyric important and what does it mean to them? I'm just giving an example here. And then as young people start talking about this and what it means to them, others learn from that and can build, share their own views on it and opinions. And then that's how the Jigsaw strategy or Jigsaw activity works.
Thank you.
And all of these activities and more are in the downloadable for free SEL playbook. I sent it to Staples for printing and it's just really beautiful.
They should pay you for the plug.
I just don't want to kill my ink cartridges.
Yes. So another one, and we talked about the joke of the week. We can move on to the next slide. So this is one of the jokes. And again, I got them offline. And sometimes I cover the answer up and then I wait for them to respond to me. Or sometimes I just post it up there and then they can just tell me how corny I am. It all really depends on what's happening that week. So I thought this was really funny, but yesterday I saw a guy spill his Scrabble letters on the road. I asked him, what's the word on the street? So this is, I know, I crack up too. But the reason why this is and I share it with them often. I use this with my students. Like I always ask them, what's the word on the Gotham streets? So not only is our school Gotham, but we're in New York City, right? What's the word on the street? Like I heard this was happening. I heard that was happening. So when a student wants to ask me kind of like gossip, in a sense, like about a teacher or something that's happening, their segue is always, because then I know where they're coming from. Ms. LeBron, what's the word on the street about this or about that? So we've started that culture with our young people, and it's been working for me so far. So it's just a little strategy I wanted to throw in there. All right, next slide. And then we come to the final signature practice of SEL. And
Which is the,
oh,
yeah,
Lisa.
which is the optimistic closure activities. Optimistic doesn't mean, yay, we're all cheery and happy. What it means is that we are checking in with kids to find out what they learned from us today. What great idea that they had that they're going to walk away with. Now, there's a whole bunch. At the end of a lesson, after I've had my optimistic opening and my engaging strategies, and I have tried very hard to teach a skill, I need to know if the kids have gotten what I'm teaching them or presenting to them. So each student has an opportunity to reflect, and they're open-ended questions. Something that I learned today, something that I would want to do in the future, how I would change my behavior. What I also love, I would like to give a compliment to so-and-so. Something I still don't understand, or I really didn't understand this word. I remember teaching a lesson, and then a little girl said, "What is courage?" And I thought I should have known that. I should have answered that much sooner, but I was glad that she said she wanted to understand more about what we were talking about. The reason we do social and emotional learning strategies, that we do all three of these, is to have kids feeling like they belong. It all of these strategies and activities, when we have kids talking to each other and talking to you and reflecting and owning what they are learning, builds social and emotional learning. So we can go on to the next slide.
Lisa, before we do that, if I
Sure.
can, I just want to respond to a question that said, when is all of this done? So I don't know if that was specific to me or to Lisa, but just in me sharing my strategies. So I have a comprehensive program now. And again, I'm 15 years in and Lisa's 30 years in. So we're talking small and we're giving strategies. But I meet with my students. Right now I'm working with the seniors specifically. I meet with all of them between 8:30 and 9:18, first period in the morning. So I'm doing sessions with them, and this is specific to the workshops that I do in the morning, that we're covering different topics. However, I do see students for mandated counseling, and I use the same strategies. I do see students for individual, so I use these same strategies. I try to be consistent so that I can develop my own skills in supporting my students. So they can be used in different ways, shapes. We actually have presented this in our school, and we're probably going to talk a little bit more about this later, to our staff, because they also do SEL lessons, our teachers. So I push into classrooms, both in Zoom, and I go into breakout rooms and do sessions. So it happens in different places at different times. You just have to figure out how this is going to work for you and where you can implement it. So I hope I answered your question. I didn't recall who the person was, but I apologize, Lisa. We can move on.
No, it was Sophia, and I think you answered her question. No, that's wonderful. And we do want it to be as interactive as we can be. So that's wonderful. I just want to round up and go over one more time social and emotional practices, welcome inclusion activities. In my elementary practice, and Christy, I'm going to dovetail to you, working in an elementary school, when I work with groups or even classes, I always start with happy news, sad news, no news today. I want the kids to just come in, break in, tell me what's going on. I say that too, and kids have told me things I need to follow up on, things I need to talk to them privately about, or they're celebrating. And it's also a time when I can connect to say, hey, how was your visit with grandma? Or how's that going with dad? It's my time to welcome back. You're important to me and you're important to this lesson. Engaging strategies. I love the turn and talk with the kids and have them even 6 feet apart. My desks are 6 feet apart and they're sitting there, and I have them turn and kind of shout a little bit. And I give elementary kids a direction. Say 3 things that you are proud that you can do and 3 things you want to do better. And when you're done, give me a thumbs up and we'll share everything with the group. So during any lesson that I'm doing, I like to have the kids, give them an opportunity to talk to each other. And the optimistic strategies, I was so proud today. My lesson was when I, then I, connecting the pieces of when I do good things happen to me. And it was the end of the lesson. I said, what did we learn today? And a little boy raised his hand and said, when I do good things, I feel proud. And that is right in line with the mindset strategies. That's right in line with what the lesson that I wanted to teach. And I was so incredibly proud. You can use these activities in, as Christy said, small group, large group, and share them with your teachers. All right, I think we're good. Can we go on to, there we go.
All right, so I know we're kind of like answering questions as we go along, but if there's see anything in the chat, Miss Kristen, share. We're good?
No, I think we're answering them as we go. People have been really receptive. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Gloria, for adding some of those, some of that information in. We're good. Let's keep rocking.
All right.
All right. Oh, we have one new message. Great ideas. All right, awesome. We're doing good. Okay. I like Dr. Rotunda's telling us it was a dad joke.
Thank you. It's a mom joke.
There you go.
Thank you. Gloria?
Okay. I'm doing two things. I'm typing a message and I'm advancing the
We know the
slides.
feeling, multitasking. That's what we do. That's
Yeah.
what
Well, let me just say it out loud because not everybody reads the chat. But at the end, I'll show you exactly where this Champ Camp 2 site is, where all of the materials are. Okay. So not to worry.
Awesome. So when we were envisioning in our school, and this is strategies that again are across the board in terms of providing multi-tiered services, support services for our students. We have our tier 1, we have our tier 2, and we have our tier 3. And today we are, for the most part, sticking to the whole school tier 1. And tier 2, where we're providing services for our students as well. And there will be some tier 3, but primarily tier 1 and tier 2, the way that we're sharing our strategies. It is a lot of information. And, when Lisa and I get together and we talk and we want to give everything, and we're like, Gloria's like, no, you only have 2 hours. Like, you have to bring it back. We're like, okay, but I want to share this and I want to share that and I want them to leave with everything. And that's not possible, right? So we just want to try to be as strategic as we possibly can. So this is the lens from which we developed our workshop and also develop our social emotional learning lessons and our programs. We want to be, when we talk about being proactive, that's very tier 1, right? Where everyone is getting all of the services that they need and we're providing them. And there is a little bit of reactiveness in there, right? Because if we know that something's happening and we look at the data and we're like, okay, we got to put this together. But for the most part, you plan your programs. And you develop them and then they grow and then you start learning from whatever mistakes happened last semester or last year, and then you change it for next year because it's never going to be perfect, right? Because every year we get a new 9th grade group for us. So, you might get a new kindergarten group, new preschool group, and in 2 years, the stuff that you used to do may not work the same, right? You need to tweak it. So being mindful that this is the lens that we're coming from. Mm-hmm. Gloria?
Now, this is, I thought, okay, how was I going to teach all these people Zooming in? How are they going to create a school-wide social and emotional learning program? When I first started, and for many years at my elementary school, I was one counselor with 1,000 children. And I was crisis. I was reactive, exhausting myself, trying to figure out how am I ever going to change this? And I stopped, I looked at the data, I looked at what I was doing, and I found the recurring themes that my school had going on and why we were having crisis and the problems that the kids were having. So I started first by studying the reoccurring themes. Was it peer conflict? When I started with 1,000 kids, it was a lot of peer conflict. And then there were attendance issues. And of course, conflict in attendance, it moves into achievement. And now in COVID, my biggest concern is isolation and the depression of students. So how do I address peer conflict, attendance, achievement, isolation, and depression in a school? Well, I was smart. And I looked and I'd identified required school programs. We have character education, Dignity for All, DASA lessons that we present. There's Erin's Law. This year we did a stranger danger curriculum. Start with hello, some of you may be doing. There are programs on cyberbullying and social media safety. So I put myself right in the middle of all of this because as I was presenting the things that needed to be presented, I looked at the goals and mindsets, and I incorporated all of the social and emotional learning into every program that was presented. So look at what's going on in your school, identify what you really need to get out there and do, marry the two together with mindsets and behavior standards, and then you have a school-wide social and emotional program. Ta-da! And so today, I'm very proud to say I am more proactive than reactive, and very proud of the things that we've done. And I am going to be very happy to share and give ideas as we go along.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, Lisa just makes it sound so easy. And we know that it's not, right? Because depending on where you work and your administration and your district, right, there are expectations. And there is a level of responsibility. And when Lisa brings up where you need to figure out what your mandated programs are, like what is your district requiring you, or your school, or your New York City is a whole big district, right? What's the expectation? What's the requirement? Do they expect these lessons to be delivered monthly, weekly, daily? Identify that first so that you can incorporate what you need to incorporate within your mandates, so that you're not working harder, you're working smarter. You're incorporating what you need to incorporate within your mandates. So now you're meeting the requirements of your district or of your principal, whatever the expectation is, superintendent, and then also providing the services that you need. Then you look at your ASCA mindsets and behaviors, right, and standards, behavior standards, and you say, okay, how am I incorporating this? Am I incorporating it? 99% of the time you are. It's happening. It's happening. But oftentimes it's very difficult for us to articulate it because we're doing so many different things and we're not making those connections. So I encourage you to be grounded in your ASCA mindset and behavior standards. Learn them and own them so that way you can speak to them. Create something for yourself, both the SEL standards and the SEL standards.
I keep them on my bulletin board. And whenever I'm thinking something and I'm looking, what do the kids need to be able to do? These mindsets and standards and behavior standards give you a goal to shoot at. Yeah. This is what I'm aiming for. This is what our program needs to teach and speak to.
Yes. And back to what Lisa, our original slide, you start small. You start small and you have this idea, and then you incorporate what you need to incorporate so that those seeds can grow, and then you can have your forest. The other way, Gloria. One more. All right. So for me, working in New York City as a high school counselor, we have a New York City Department of Education College and Career Readiness planning team. There is an expectation that they have that we are delivering very appropriate college and career post-secondary planning, and that our students are meeting milestones. So I can easily, get these kinds of services somewhere else and say, this is what I want to provide my students and this, but there's an expectation that this is happening in our school. They're providing us the information. They're giving us, this is their slide. I didn't create it. It's their very pretty slide. And they have this expectation that we're delivering this. So I need to meet that expectation, but I also need to provide what I think or what I feel like my students need and my community needs. And how do I provide the SEL services within this? Yes, credits are different. So this is just one example of an expectation that needs to be met in New York City in high schools and for the Department of Education. The next slide. So specifically for 12th grade that I'm working with this year, they also have these benchmarks for us and these themes that I need to incorporate every single month. So application completion, so it's application month, it's college awareness month in October. So we have a theme for all of our students, tier 1. So while my seniors are doing applications, our juniors are learning about colleges, or they're creating their college list. And then our 10th graders are like, okay, how do I link my career that I'm interested in to college? And then our 9th graders are learning about careers. And then how do we incorporate our SEL into that? And then our students are thinking, well, why am I thinking about college? I just got to school. I'm in the 9th grade. Like, why is this? Why do we have to connect all of these things? And then you can create a social emotional activity that then says, okay, so let's set some goals. Let's do some goal setting. Let's be reflective. What are our likes? What are our dislikes? Do we know anybody who has a career? What is the career? And making sure that we're making those connections for our young people. And again, I'm speaking just for high school on this level, but I wanted to make the connection with having that there's an expectation across the board, right? So some people have their district offices, and depending on where you are, and sometimes, my principal, if I do it, I do it. If I don't do it, I don't do it. He trusts that it's getting done because there's an expectation that it gets done, but he's not micromanaging me. So it's up to me to make sure this is happening, because I know that this is in the best interest of my students. All right, next slide.
There's a question about middle school. Is there something similar for middle school, similar benchmarks?
For New York City, there are similar benchmarks for middle school, yes. Okay. So back to the question where Sophia had asked, like, when does this happen? How do we get all of this done? And again, this is, I just want to reiterate that this is many, many years of me working on this and working with a team and a supportive administration. But mapping out what's happening in your school already, looking at what the expectations are in terms of what programs need to be delivered, and then working within a program and with your team. So one of the things that we were able to create, we have a college and career readiness team. And within the college and career readiness team, we have a curriculum so that our students can get credit for taking this class. So within this class, I push into those and do my SEL lessons. Our teachers also do SEL lessons. And then, and I know, I apologize if this is kind of small, but I embed all of my standards into our curriculum map. What are we meeting? So I embed the ASCR standards. I embed the SEL standards. I embed the CDOS standards, because those are all expectations of the New York City Department of Education that we are meeting standards with our students. The teachers, prior to this, also at one point were embedding like the college and career readiness, like I think the Common Core standards. And then we just moved away from that and stuck with our program in terms of the ASCA, the SEL, and the CDOS, because that is how we're mostly supporting our students in 9th through 12th grade across the board. So this is just an example. These lessons are embedded. So all of my 12th grade team will be able to click on this curriculum map, and they're able to click on the unit, and then their unit plan will come up with lessons attached. So all of our 12th grade teachers will be doing the same lesson. It doesn't always happen that way because I cannot be in all of the places at the same time. So sometimes we have to move things around. So there's room for flexibility, and sometimes life happens. So we have to change things. Right? Sometimes we go from in the classroom to Zoom. So things change a little bit. Our activities have to change a little bit, but we plan ahead. And again, this is quite a bit of time of planning, but this is how we make the magic happen for us. Next slide.
Oh, I think there were some questions though.
Oh, okay. I think, yep.
Yeah, we are sharing this.
Mhm.
And there was a question, if all seniors take this course, is it required?
It is a requirement for all of our students, 9th through 12th grade.
Could you, there's also a question about those that don't have a course like this, that are just doing push-in.
Yep.
How would you do this? Or could you just speak to maybe the early years and how this could be done as push-in?
Well, so I will say this, that even with this course that's happening, I still need to push in to very specific classes. So if there is something that, if this is not a very highly attended class, for example, it was, students were Zooming in at 8:30 a.m. And some weren't. So they're not getting this information. So if I want to do a check-in, I need to push into English. So I check in with the English teacher. I need to make sure that I've reiterated this information. I want to make sure that the students got it. This is super important. Can I have some of your class time? And that happened while we were brick and mortar. And it also happens now in Zoom. So those are relationships that I've been able to build with our classroom teachers where they're like, sure, come on in, or, can I go into a breakout room with some of your students and then pull them out that way? So those are strategies that you can use to be able to navigate not having a class like this. Prior to this very comprehensive program, all I did was push in, because I wanted to make sure that all of my students were getting the same information and it was coming from me. So I pushed into all the English classes, or I pushed into all the science classes, a class that I knew that everyone in that grade was getting. So if they had Global 1, then I went into Global 1. And it is not a full year, it is a full year course, but it's, we have semesters. So one semester is one thing, and then we have the spring semester is different. But yeah, they do take it full year for 4 years. So we have a college and career readiness program. Yeah, well, that's our school counseling program. It's embedded with our teachers.
Christy, there's a question. Are you putting up
Sure.
a sample lesson?
So are you able to click on the link,
Which
Gloria?
one would you like me to click on?
That one, Unit 1. I hope you have permission. Okay, so this is a curriculum, this is a unit plan. And if you scroll down to the bottom, it talks about like the skills. We have the standards embedded in there. And then there's deliverables. So if you scroll a little bit further down to the bottom, it'll say like what session 1 is. And session 1 was like to go over the syllabus. And then the syllabus is attached. And then go over the school calendar. And then session 2 was individual transcripts. So there's a lesson that's linked to that, the individual transcript lesson, so that students are gonna now either learn what a transcript is and why that's important for them to be able to advocate themselves. So that would be like a 9th grader freshman year. And then you have the seniors who now need to do their actual certification. And that's one of the lessons that I provide is you need to advocate for yourself, because we are human and we make mistakes. And we want to make sure that we have as many eyes as possible checking. And you need to know that this is what you need in order to graduate. So when we start having those conversations in the 9th grade, by the 12th grade, students are like, excuse me, miss, I already have like 8 math classes. I don't need this extra math. And then that's a whole other story, but they're able to advocate for themselves. They know what's going on.
So there's a lot of questions about getting a copy of all this. I don't know if it's something, Christy, that you're actually able to provide the whole curriculum. I can say that when folks get the PowerPoint, the links are live. So you'll be able to look at the PDF of the PowerPoint and actually click on these links and see what we just saw. Beyond that, Christy, I'm not sure how much you're able to provide to everybody.
That's definitely a question that I can ask my administration. This is all teacher created. So, I mean, the lessons, we didn't invent them. We got them from someplace. But for the most part, our curriculum and the way we changed it and adjusted is, our teams created it. So I can absolutely ask. So stay tuned.
There was a question about the template itself, even if it was blank. Is there a way?
Oh yeah, I can share that. I'm happy to share that. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Things that we're able to add that come up during this meeting, they will all go to the same place that I show you later. So not to worry where it will be.
Yes, you're welcome.
This is the bottom half of that.
Yes. So these are the performance tasks. We want to make sure that our students are being graded on something and it's consistent. This is for 12th grade, but these are these are the deliverables in terms of what needs to happen. And when it says like CDOS, there are components that go into CDOS. So they have to do a vocational assessment. They have to do very specific tasks. So the same thing with like registration for the SAT. We didn't have to do that. Now we do the whole school registration, but we still expect students to know how to register, get onto College Board, know what the registration process is like. so that then they can go in and look at their scores afterwards. So although it's not actual registration, they still kind of go through the motion so that they can become familiar with College Board and individual conferences. We incorporate that in every single marking period.
Christy, is it safe to say this is sort of an advisory format? Some of the counselors listening might be familiar with the advisory approach that came out many years ago.
So yes, so this started when I got to it was Pablo Neruda and then Gotham Collaborative. When I got there, they had an advisory program. And then we revamped it and it became, instead of advisory, it became small learning communities. And then the more we incorporated and it became a little bit more, standards based. It went from small learning communities and to college and career readiness. And then within the college and career readiness, we embedded the SEL. On here, we do MHE as well, the mental health education, but we try to incorporate that through the SEL. So I don't have the standards on there. I just can't fit any more standards right now. We just have to trust that I do it. So yes, it did start through advisory and it grew. Not necessarily because my principal was like, oh, we want to see this happen, but more because I'm like, I cannot take another fire. Like, we need to figure this out. We need to cover our bases. We need to be proactive. And that came from being involved in the profession and from going to workshops like this and hearing what other counselors were doing in other places. And I'm like, hey, I can do that. What? You're doing that? I can do that. And that's where it went. And every time I learn something new, I bring it back. And my principal hates when I'm like someplace, I'm going to a workshop tomorrow. He's like, oh Lord, what are you going to come back with? Because if I don't implement it right away or figure it out, then usually I don't get it done. So it has to be something that I can implement. And that's how it's grown over the last, since 2012.
Mm-hmm. You start with a seed and then you have a forest. You grew it. It is a beautiful piece of work.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't take full credit for it. It's a team effort. I just bring the passion. I'm like, I need to get this done. Awesome. So any questions I can answer?
Well, there are comments about how finding the time to implement and feeling like there's no more time to implement something like this. How do you find the time?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's another seminar we're going to do about how to approach administration, how to find time, also being very creative, approaching people, selling the worth of what we're doing. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Maybe find time in the day, during the day to present it, or find time, personal time to get it done. I am a believer in I will give extra personal time when I see that it is well worth it, and it makes my life less stressful, and it gives back 100 times over.
Yeah. And I did see that there was a question in terms of developing this, and it takes time, and it takes some of your own personal time. And I had a video at one point that I wanted to include where it talks about an athlete, right? And he's just talking about how he starts out, loving basketball, and then, going to the gym all the time and going into the gym all the time. And then, he would practice after school, practice before school. And I feel like this is my sports show, right? So like, if I want to be the superstar, in my building with this kind of stuff and supporting my kids with this kind of stuff, I got to put in the work. And we don't all have the same time that to dedicate. But you have to put some work in. And on February 8th, we're going to talk about making your efforts count. And that's going to be geared towards how did we get to this place. Both myself and Lisa will be presenting as well. And just, every little effort counts. And how do we make it count? How does that 1 minute meeting with my principal change, a school culture? And
you're already selling our next program.
That's the elevator. What is it called? The elevator chat or the elevator something?
Come back again.
Yeah. So February 8th, we'll see you all. And hopefully I can cover some of that stuff there, because we still have some stuff to cover. But please keep the questions coming in. We will try to do that Q&A on the NYSCA website. Elevator pitch. Yes, that's what it's called. All right, next slide. All right, so let's look at your school needs, right? Because that's how we developed our program. We knew advisory wasn't working. You know, kids just weren't taking it seriously. So how are we going to do that? How do we change it? You know, it was not an extended homeroom. That's what it was feeling like, and teachers were not buying in. So we had to revamp it, right? So that was one of the needs that I took on, that I knew that I needed a place to be able to develop a program. So it started from there. So we just would love for you to participate. Next slide.
And I just want to give a plug to Poll Everywhere. We wanted to use this as an engaging strategy to keep people involved, and Poll Everywhere. Christy showed me, she had me take a poll. It's a great tool to have. The link will be provided to you.
Yes. And I use it pretty often with my students.
I have to say there's a glitch here. I don't see it launching.
Maybe revamp it.
Do you have to take pictures? Oh,
Yeah, I'm having a glitch. Let me just maybe you want to talk about how this is a reflective activity, and I can go make sure I'm active in.
Okay. So one of these, so this activity, right? What is your greatest need at your school? And I shared with you how that kind of guided me and my passion in terms of like changing our advisory and revamping it, and, you know, leading in my school with leverage, right? So like I can go in and teach your classes on Friday because I want to deliver this information. You kind of get Friday off. You just have to support me, and I will be in your classes all day. You know, that gave me a little bit of leverage because that gave teachers a little bit of a break. So I, you know, utilizing the time that we have to make things happen. So like I said, I figured out what the biggest need for me was in my school, and that was revamping advisory and making sure that it was more pertinent and useful. But take a moment and think about what is the greatest need at your school right now.
Okay,
Your
Christy,
greatest need.
I think you have to instruct people to text 22333 to Christy LeBron 794, and we'll be able to go ahead and take our poll. I'm going to take the poll.
Actually, it's the other way around. The message goes to
Text.
22333, and the message is Christy LeBron 794.
Got it. Thanks, Gloria.
And it'll enter you into the poll.
Yes. And there is a free version of this, so you can use it in your schools. You can add fun activities. You can embed it into your Google Slides and your PowerPoint. Yes, staff. Many. Yes.
Isolated. Yeah, a lot of people are feeling isolated. Oh, isn't this fun?
Yeah.
Imagine doing this with your kids. It's amazing. Oh,
And you
so
One of
as the words grow bigger,
Mhm.
that means you are all agreeing that time and support are the greatest needs in your school.
Yes.
Time.
And I also wanted to share that I have a student that taught me that to do this, if you put the word and underscore at another word, it comes up as a sentence. Like both words will come up together. Yes. Who would have known? Because he did it. And I'm like, how'd you do that?
Oh, I had a student today tell me, you know, you can do that on Relay.
Oh, did he?
A first grader helping me.
There you go. We have to own that. Who's writing on there?
Erin?
Oh.
Oh, she's doing it herself.
Yeah. That has happened to me.
Has
Sometimes
it?
our students will come
Teacher
in.
leadership, more time, more time, more time, more time.
Teacher buy-in.
Kindness.
Absolutely.
Teacher buy-in.
Absolutely. So I think this person is writing it in because it's not working on their phone or something. Yeah,
Oh,
leave it
okay.
there.
That's
Just leave it
awesome.
there.
Connection,
We can read it.
leadership. But time and support seems to still be the biggest need.
Yes.
Staying open. Oh, honey. The kids need us. Abandoned. Oh, my goodness. Okay, I'm just sending out a big hug to everyone that we are all in this together. And I hope you are
training, yes.
inspired and you feel connected. We are
Collaboration.
all New York State
Absolutely.
counselors and our Jersey friend.
Yes.
Staff, support, parents, understanding loneliness,
Training for parents. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
helping parents, leadership. disengagement, motivation, communication, self-esteem.
Time and support seem to be the biggest ones. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, we have people putting in the chat too, self-care, mental
Yeah.
health engagement, parent engagement, training for parents.
Yes. Thank you so much for participating. We appreciate that. Absolutely. Yes. So this is one of my students' favorite. Like when we do the word, this word thing, they don't like to take the polls where I count their stuff, I tally their things. They prefer this.
Yeah.
They put silly things in there and then I have to call them out, but that's fine. Just know it's free, okay? You can buy into a bigger setting, but you can get a free one. Yeah, mediation, absolutely. Self-care, time, tech, support, yep.
Parenting skills. We're getting a lot of people. Wow. We're filling the board. I'm so proud of us.
We did. All right, we have one more poll, super quick. Returning from the transition, absolutely, transition is key. Absolutely. Returning from remote learning, how do we do that? Absolutely.
Okay, I think I have to do the same thing. I just have to enter it again.
Yeah.
Just give me a sec.
And let's remember,
just
this is an engagement strategy.
Yes.
So we hope you guys are staying with us. It's been about an hour and 10 minutes. And so we're so happy that you're participating, you're with us, and I hope you continue to feel inspired.
Yes.
It's giving me trouble. Come on, insert an activity.
So for the person who shared returning from remote learning, one of the strategies that we used, and we did a whole school SEL lesson, where the first 2 days of school we got back in September was only SEL in every single class. Like literally, how are you feeling? So period 1 was check-in, periods for every student. Period 2 was something different. Period 3 was another thing. Period 4 was technology. Period 5 was sports and something else. Like just build connections with their teachers. It wasn't about like, oh, this is what your syllabus looks like. This is what we're going to be doing. It was more about like, how are you? Welcome back. And that was a whole school initiative where we just we developed those things. And it really, really created a good transition for our students coming back, for those who were there for the first 3 days. All right, so how are you feeling so far? So this one is a little bit different. You're gonna see as you pick it, you're gonna see the little things, right? So you don't have full smiley, one full smiley face, but that's okay. We're right in between there, right? Sometimes going to workshops make you feel a little bit more overwhelmed, right? Because you're like, why aren't I doing all of these things? Or how can I get it done? I want to go back and do it. And just remember to start small. Remember to pick one initiative, one thing that's going to encompass your end result, your end goal that's going to get you to that one place. I love our person who's being creative. Yes, thank you. Just circle it if you want to circle it. See, make it work. That's what I tell my students. It doesn't work on your technology, make it work somehow. Scribble on there, tell me something, type in the chat, but participate, So thank you for that. Did Kristen leave us?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I'm following the chat.
Okay, so how do you deal with educators who do not want to buy into SEL? Oh yeah, that's not easy. It's absolutely not easy. A lot of educators, my experience has been when we presented it, and then I'm sorry, I know we're going to go to this place, we're going to go here, but has been that they don't realize that they're already doing it. Yeah. They're already doing it. They just feel like it's one more thing they have to do because we put a label on it. And it's just like getting that buy-in from them, with sharing strategies that like, you're already doing this in your lesson. Look, you open this way. Just open with a smile.
Yeah.
You open that way, you close this way, you already do that stuff. So that's SEL. It's not an additional thing for you to do. And I think that especially in this day and age, we're feeling overwhelmed. And no one wants something additional.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry that some people are feeling really sad about everything. As far as teachers who are not working as closely as you would like, another trick is to always ask them exactly how you can help, and start with their vision and working through their vision, and then slowly moving over into your social and emotional learning. Like Christy said, they're doing it, but sometimes people don't want to open arm embrace you. So it's important to start slow. Like I said, plant a seed. Start where they need you to be. Identify that teacher's needs, identify the class's needs, and then work up from there.
Light to dark green. Okay, you're right in the middle, huh, Leslie? Thank you for that. Thank you so much for participating. We appreciate it. Absolutely. It's good to know where you're feeling right now. And I'm sorry, the orange and the red, it just, it does break my heart. And I have been there, trust me.
I think in the chat, people are talking about they don't know if their school is going to be open, and some schools have not been open. So I'm hoping and I'm thinking that people may be feeling sad of the whole state of education right now and COVID, and that we can't do a lot of things that we would want to do. One of the things they're talking about is you can't get parents on board. And I will speak to my job. My daily job has changed into my being a detective. I need to get this person. I need to make all these phone calls. It is a sad time, and we have to bend, and we have to be flexible, and we have to meet the needs of our school, and connecting to kids and finding them and giving them technology. That's important.
I had a question about a poll. Do you have to be online at the same time as students to have them do a poll, or can you post it on Google Classroom and get back later to see the results?
Yes. You can post it and come back later to see the results, as long as the poll states activated.
Okay. And also, do you know who answered what? So for example, if this is your class and somebody's in the red, is there a way to know who answered red?
So you can set your poll up in two different ways. One is you can ask students to register so that their name is attached to their response, or you can allow them to respond anonymously, which is what we've done here. They can respond anonymously, and then it depends on how you set your poll up, but it gives you that option.
Yeah. There's also a comment in the chat. There's lots of places to find polls. Zoom has polls, Microsoft has polls, Google Forms. So there's different sources.
Yeah. I haven't learned any of those. Just the Zoom and this. I learned this at a conference that I went to, and I said, okay, I'm buying it, and I'm not buying it, but I'm getting it and I'm using it. And this was something that was super practical that I can come back and start using right away. And we use it with our staff. They use my account for the staff and for the students. Maybe if the other ones are user friendly, I might move to those, but thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. So delivering services. We try to break it up with some polls, and I was trying not to talk so much, but I'm just such a talker. God. All right. So we talked about our tiers, right? Tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3. And we talked about whole school and targeted students, and then individual services. And then now we're going to talk a little bit how we're delivering those services, right? So you can deliver them like directly, or you can deliver them indirectly. However, you're still delivering them. And I think that that's important for us to talk about a little bit, because I don't want us to feel, when I say us, I say like school counselors and our teams, to feel like what we're providing, or that we're not providing the services that we say we're providing. We just have to be mindful of how we're providing them. And sometimes just because we're not in front of a student doesn't mean that we didn't provide this service. So when I'm creating lessons or I'm delivering lessons, the same thing with Lisa, and it's co-facilitated by someone and I'm in the room supporting, or I created a lesson and the teacher is delivering it, that's an indirect service. So you just need to be mindful of what you're servicing, like what your service is, and then how it's being delivered, so that then you can also say, okay, is this direct or is this indirect? Mm-hmm. So we're going to go into that, a little bit of that coming up.
Yes. All right. Well, welcome to elementary school. And what I'm going to talk about is these are the indirect student services that I worked with, meaning that I worked with the teachers and a team. And in the beginning, when I talked about pick something that needs to be done, schools need character education. So I put these in order. The very first thing we did is student recognition. That would be the children receiving a certificate and a pencil, and their picture went up on a bulletin board. Then we moved up to grade level books for each month with lesson plans that we gave to the teachers, and there were lessons on social and emotional learning, which connected to the monthly character education trait. We then added announcements every morning about character education and social and emotional learning. Then we wrote poems and songs, and every month teachers would receive poems for the kids to memorize and songs for the kids to sing. Then we moved up to plays, monthly plays, where we had the teacher would volunteer to have her class or his class present a play, and they were on the character education trait, respect, responsibility. They would sing the songs, say the poems, we would say it together, we would have a celebration of community. And then teachers and their classes would help us with the bulletin boards. This took many, many, many years to put in place. It started small and grew, and it was beautiful. And now we have COVID, and we can't have assemblies, and I can't take pictures of kids together. So I will show you how I was creative, and I turned our character education program into direct services. So if we can go to the next slide. Now, part of the new program, instead of teachers having the books, I've started doing Screencastify read alouds. Screencastify is a program that works within my district, within Google, and only the people in my Google Classrooms that I can send it to can see it. So I am not breaking any copyright laws by reading another author's book and talking about character education. The kids actually love this, and they see me in the hallway. And even today, somebody said, "Oh, I saw that book on Frida. Do you know that she painted and painted and painted and never gave up?" So the kids enjoy seeing you. So I am giving you a shout out. Your face matters. Student recognition pop-ins means that I get lists from teachers on times that I can just pop in. My principal, my assistant principal, myself, anybody who is of like mind, we pop into a Google Classroom and say, "Hey, this is a shout out because we saw that Amy was being kind." And it is a way for us to recognize kids, to build self-esteem. We continue to do the announcements, poems and songs. We don't have plays. So what I have created every month is a YouTube video. There will be a link that says how to create your own YouTube channel. And I want to, again, encourage you to just jump in and do it, because look at me, 30 years in, and I'm putting myself in front of a camera and I'm going out there, and even I am not Meryl Streep. I'm not winning any awards, but what I am doing is connecting to the kids. And I'm also creating a social and emotional language. Every month, when these children are watching something on responsibility or kindness or fear or fear and courage, when they're watching it, I'm speaking to what it is, how you do it, and how we expect to see it in school. So I'm creating a language, not just for me and my students, but for the entire school. And I wrap it all up in a Google slide choice board. And I was a Google slide novice at the beginning of COVID, and through YouTube and a lot of help from people, I am pretty savvy now. So we can go on to the next slide. Here is a close-up of all the things that I include on my choice board. You can see I have the poems and the songs. Here's how the kids would get to the video. And I also include thinking maps that you'll see. So you can go on to the next slide. I want to give a shout out to Vocaroo. When I started recording songs, I was trying to find a good platform that would convert to MP3. When you are embedding songs in Google Slides, it has to be in a certain platform. Vocaroo is a free website where you can make a recording and then you can hear yourself. And go ahead, Gloria. Everyone feels scared sometimes. That's why we have courage. It's okay to be afraid. That's why we have courage. With courage, courage here and courage, courage there. Here, courage, there, courage everywhere. Courage, courage. Everyone feels scared sometimes. That's why we have courage. All right, now listen, I'm not Mariah Carey. I am not, but I can carry a tune and the kids love it and they sing along, and it is an elementary way to teach character education. Thank you so much for the people that was saying nice. You can go on to the next slide. Part of my character education program. Oh, this is the video. I don't think we put a link into the video. There it is. And so this is actually, if you notice, this is where I do all my video recording. And this is my talking to the kids for about 7 minutes about courage, and they all can write it. But to go along with this, you can go on to the next slide. The district, my district, adopted thinking maps to go across all schools, across all grade levels. And I took the training with the teachers. And I want to tell, especially the interns who are out there, I want to say, in your school district, attend the trainings. Speak the same language that the teachers are speaking. So I had a knowledge on how to create a thinking map, and these ideas, courage compared to fear, and positive thinking helps you when you feel fear. These ideas are within the video that I showed, and I provide these to the teachers. My office sits across the hall from a 3rd grade teacher. And in September, when I was very nervous whether or not this would fly, if this would be okay, the teacher started teaching from my thinking map, and I heard her saying everything that I wanted kids to know about kindness and why it's important to be kind and how to be kind. So I felt that my conversion from in-school character education to remote character education really, really flew, and it makes me very proud. Again, the most important thing to do is to create a language and an understanding that is across the school. We all know it's important to be kind. We all know positive thinking helps you have courage. This also ties into the anxiety and the isolation we're feeling. And so I want kids to know the importance of creating I can statements and, of course, always talking it out. All right.
Lisa, if I could just add something, there's comments about people not being able to sing. And I know when I was an elementary counselor, I would sometimes get students to read things or sing things for me, and kids love hearing other kids sing. So you've got resources
actually,
there.
There is a song for sportsmanship. We play to have fun. We play to have fun. We play to have fun. And one of the teachers' class loved doing it. So I had her record her class, and the kids' video is in there. We have A days and B days. So the first half are the kids who are there for the blue cohort, and then the second half of the video is the yellow cohort. So the entire class got to be in the video. So I agree. Nobody has to sing. My grandmother was a music teacher, so I have an up. I'll say that.
There's a question, where did you find the songs?
I wrote the songs. I wrote the plays. But if you go to Teachers Pay Teachers, if you Google things, there's a lot of poems and there's a lot of things out there. I happen to be one of those very creative people that I enjoy doing things like writing songs.
And I happen to be one of those counselors that likes to spend my money on that.
Now, a lot of people were saying we're remote, we're remote, we're remote. I took our DASA lessons and I have my Safe People Help You Decide lessons, and I am delivering them in 2 ways. 1, I am going into classrooms with my PowerPoint presentations, and 2, I'm doing exactly what we're doing right now. I join the remote classes and I go through all the important things that need to be taught. My very favorite thing is when I ask a kindergarten student and I'll say, Yael, are you there? Unclick and say, I'm here. And then a tiny little voice says, I'm here. And then I can make sure that they're engaged and they're part of it. And the kids keep track of who has a turn and who doesn't have a turn. So I always keep a class list next to me and I check off to make sure I'm giving everybody a chance. Now, for those of you who may not like drawing, and if you don't want to make your own video, I explored something called Doodly. Do we have that video, that Doodly video? There it is. Can you just, this is a program where
Welcome. Today I'm going to talk about safe people and how they help you think and decide how to stay safe. When you're a kid, you have safe people. You have safe people at home, like a mom or a dad or a grandma or an uncle. You have safe people at school, like a teacher or a principal or a counselor. Your safe people are like green on a traffic light. Green means go. You can go with your safe people.
It's great though. I want to see more.
So this I actually saw on Facebook and it said, sign up for Doodly for free. And I thought, okay, I'll try it. And I wrote the script, and Doodly works by dragging and placing the different icons where you need them to be. You can use your hand, you can use a mitten, you can use different things to write with, and you can take your words and your ideas and what you want to teach the kids. And again, by posting it on a YouTube channel, I can post it within a Google Classroom. I can assign it to the kids. I actually have this video embedded in my Safe People Help You Decide, and that's part of my presentation. I think
Lisa, the folks are wondering if you have IEP mandated students on your caseload as well.
I have both. Yes, of course. Yep. And is there anything else? I do. I work a small group, classroom, large group. And, you know, I'll share the experience that I needed to be quarantined as well. And I was very concerned about how I was going to see my mandated kids. And I was able to create what I do in a classroom in Google Slides, and I was able to meet with the students, and we were able to have groups and do activities. So it is a time of creativity. It is a time of stress. It is a time of worry and concern. I think if you put in ideas and put things in place, even a little thing, you can start feeling as if you're coming through this. Oh, I am coming through this by keeping my eye on the sunshine.
Awesome. All right. So I am definitely not as creative and tech savvy as Lisa. And, you know, that's why we share this love, because we just keep learning from each other. Absolutely. So I had never used Doodly. I was like, wow, I want to do that now. And, you know, do all of these things because I feel like all of these skills are transferable. Elementary, middle, high school, probably even in college. Like, I think that when you're, it's all in the delivery. So for us and for me in my high school, so this was my life, right? We had my bulletin boards, providing my indirect and direct services. I had, you know, kids that would just take selfies on my cell phone. I had trips, my, you know, cooking club, just hang out. So I did themed lunch bunches. So depending on what was going on, what the word on the street was, you know, so maybe we needed to have a spades game so that we can diffuse some situations. Maybe we needed to play dominoes or Uno or have a competition. Like, it really depended on what, like I said, the word on the street was. And this was both direct and indirect, because although I had my lunch bunch, if there was a need and I needed support, I would reach out to my colleagues and say, you know, can I have, you know, four teachers, do you guys mind doing this? And maybe we can do a little competition and engage their support, so that way students were not going down to the cafeteria when we knew that was not going to be the best environment for them. So we were being proactive via the word on the street. So this was my life, and I loved it. It was busy. My office was always, my doors open. That's my policy, unless it's not, right? So if my door is locked, it's just locked, right? Because something is happening, but usually I have an open door policy, and kids were in and out, and I was always super, super busy. And like I said, we had our bulletin boards, our student recognition, we had shout outs on the AP thing. Shout outs in the classrooms. I would do hit and runs and go into the classroom and just like shout kids out for whatever, like anything that's great, attendance. Somebody went from, you know, just most improved in English. We want to make sure we shout them out. So it can't happen all the time, every place. But if a teacher brings it to my attention, I try to figure out how to make that happen. And then in doing the indirect services, how did I continue to do that with indirect services? And then in Zoom. So we continued our themed lunch bunches, where I have you can go back before.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to add the other stuff, like the announcements, the poems, right? So Lisa talked about poetry. I added that also. This was something that we did. You can make it work for high school students. We had our talent shows. We had grade level book clubs and book lessons, club discussions, and then we had our classroom lessons. And those are the ones where I would push into. Now you can move on. Thank you, Gloria. So then we went remote, and then this was my life, right? I still wanted the word on the street, right? So I'm by the coffee, I'm by the water cooler, because I need to know what's going on. And I just went all digital, and I didn't know how to do a Bitmoji classroom. So I reached out to a colleague of mine. I'm like, I need to get this up and running. How do I do this? And she walked me through it. And then I saw some YouTube videos that also walked me through it. And then I was able to incorporate some animation. And then I needed to figure out, how can students reach me? So sometimes students just need an appointment. They just need to find me and need an appointment. And it was very chaotic when they're reaching out to me, and it's just like, Ms. LeBron, can I talk to you now? Can I talk to you now? Can I talk to you now? Like 50 kids cannot talk to me now. So I created a calendar system where you just have to click on my link, appointment with Ms. LeBron, and that would bring you to Calendly. And then whatever time was available, that was your 15-minute slot. And that's it. It was just me and you, nobody's on there. I am available every single morning from 8:30 to 9:18. So although the teachers, those are their classes that are happening, CCR is happening at that time, I'm there with them on Zoom. So the 12th grade meets together on one Zoom link, and then we go into breakout rooms. So I'm always available between 8:30 and 9:18 for our students. Then they can have their private appointment.
Christy,
Yeah.
someone wants to know, oh, they're excited. How did you do the calendar appointments? That's awesome. I need that.
Free, Calendly. I think it's on one of the slides.
Okay.
And then I had Calendly, and it's free. If you want to get fancy, you want to have different sessions, then it won't be free. You have to upgrade, but it's free, and you can set up your slots.
I'm all about the free.
Yeah, and it's linked to your Google Calendar. So it's linked to my Gmail calendar, and automatically gets linked onto my calendar, gets linked onto the student's Gmail calendar, and the student gets an email reminder. So you can set up reminder 10 minutes before. You can also embed your Zoom link. So I have my own Zoom link, and that's embedded in their appointment. All of that is free on Calendly, and it has really, really changed my life this semester. I also have office hours. Oh, you can go back. Office hours, where from 2 to 2:50, every single day I am available. Even if no one shows up, like my Zoom is open and kids just have to log into my office hours. Ms. LeBron, I need you to send this transcript. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. But they want to make sure that they talk to me. They don't want to send me an email because I may not get it. And sometimes I do it and don't respond. So especially for those students that need it done right now, if they go onto my Zoom link in my office hours, they get it done right then and there. So that's kind of like that open door policy that they can find me. And then in terms of the indirect services, how did I change that? We continue our social media posts. We have a system for that, and school-wide website. So I do my shout outs on those. We have community sessions where I am linked up with our culture club or culture committee, and they do like workshops in the afternoons at 3 o'clock, and all the kids come in. We have Uno tournaments. It's like this Uno game online. We still do the student recognition. We do that also through social media. And then I still do my classroom lessons. So I do them in the morning, or I push in to students' classes, depending on what, yes, Uno online, depending on what the need is and where I can make that connection.
I just want to, someone that made a comment about needing a whole nother workshop just on all of the tech tools. And, I can identify with that, but I think it can be overwhelming to try to do all of this. So I think as I noticing the time, we're down to our last 20 minutes. We want to make sure we get through everything and to maybe focus on where you might start or what you might add and not be overwhelmed by the many, 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 many cool things to try.
Yeah.
So it's Calendly, CALENDLY, something, yep, like that. Thank you so much. Thank you. I learned a lot of this miscellaneous stuff through colleagues and also through YouTube. If I hear a buzzword, like, how do I set this up? Like, YouTube has really, really got me through the spring semester last year. And trying to figure my life out. Even like Google Classroom, I wasn't the savviest and had to create it because that was my only connection to kids and making sure they got their stuff done. So it really, really, YouTube just helped me out. And Lisa's all over it. So now you can learn some other stuff on there.
Oh, yeah.
Next slide. So this is one of my Google Classrooms. So I have, this is linked to my Google Classroom. I present slides every single week. And so this is the week of November 23rd, for example. And then all the things that we have done up until this time are linked on here. So we went over our syllabus. We went over our senior timeline. We went over the CUNY application, the SUNY application. So all of those things are linked there. So if a student ever needs to say, go back and say, like, Ms. LeBron, what was the video on this? I'm like, you just have to go back to your slides. And that has been very, very consistent. With both the CCR teachers and myself, because it's so easy to just always send a link. It really, really is, but that is not a skill that, always asking for stuff is not the skill when you know where you can find it, right? We wanna make sure the students are resourceful and they're able to find the stuff that was provided for them. So everything is linked on here, and all of my slides scaffold. So you can find the week before on there and the week before on there, and I just add additional, every week I just add whatever I needed to add. And that's how I maintained it and keep myself sane too. All right, next slide. All right. And then in terms of my classroom lessons via Zoom, I use my Bitmoji Classroom. It's facilitated both by myself or could be co-facilitated by the classroom teacher. And then I can go into breakout rooms to be able to support. I start all of our sessions every single morning, 8:30 in the morning, I am jamming to music. It could be, I start out with freestyle and then old school jazz. And then students are like, Miss, you're putting all this music nobody cares about. So I was like, give me what you want to hear. So we just decided on themes every single week. So we did David Bowie last week. So that was interesting. They thought it was a joke, but I found a mix and it worked out, that genre of music. And I greet all of my students, making sure that they're coming in. I always have like either a joke or a brain teaser. I am consistent. I try to do the same thing every single week and throughout my sessions so that those students that need that additional support, they know what to expect. I have students sometimes that don't like going into classrooms because like, it's always something new. It's always something new. We have to listen to our kids, and we have to know, like, sometimes students need this very, very consistent classroom that's happening, that's not changing all the time. And it's okay to be repetitive, because sometimes we need that for ourselves and for our students. And then our SEL lessons are either direct or indirect. So, you know, I follow up with my students with individual meetings via Zoom and through breakout rooms in their classes. I have my office hours, and I use my Google Voice. So I do either text or Hangouts. So we're always very, very, very connected. And I like to follow up. So when students are putting that little sad face, I need to make a note and make sure that I am connecting with them at some point to make sure that, you know, we're good and that they're good, and that they've gotten what they needed.
There's a question about how are you progress monitoring with all this great stuff you are doing?
So it's not easy, right? So the the deliverables are super important, right? And then student check-ins is also important. Sometimes we have done a lesson that has really, especially during the time of our you know, our transition and voting was happening, and so many things were changing, and we were doing some lessons on just like how students were feeling and how they were connecting. And sometimes students would feel like, oh, this doesn't bother me, but it did. And making sure that we then moved into large groups to small groups and then to individual meetings. So the deliverables are super important, and the follow-up and check-ins is also super important. So if we had a goal, our goals are, you know, measurable. So we had a goal of like 100, and this is not realistic. We didn't have this goal, but I don't remember what my goal is for like CUNY applications. And it was 75%, and I want to make sure we go up to 85%. So we progress monitor via our goals, and that's also another session through our advisory council, and making sure that our goals are consistent. This was one of my lessons, my social emotional lessons, and this was what they needed to do. They needed to. We checked in. How are you feeling? And then I walked them through how they can create their Bitmoji. Their own Bitmoji. To my surprise, many of my seniors did not have one. So this was a lot of fun. And then they had to send it to me, and we have a yearbook page that's going to be their Bitmoji end of 2020. And some students were saying like, this is my life. This is not going to change. Other students are like, I'm in the holiday spirit. Other ones are very optimistic. Some students are like, I want to stay in 2020. I like never leaving my house. And then Miss LeBron, if you see me over here, kind of like just passed out. I was exhausted. And we had a really, really good time. And this required several follow-up lessons with students, because stuff was shared that we didn't know was happening. And until you have these conversations, students don't know to share, or that they can share. And they did. So this was the beginning of several lessons in terms of SEL. We had to revamp the stuff that we were doing for a week and a half to make sure that we sent our students off on the Christmas break and then transitioned them back first week in January with SEL, so that way they felt connected, and we did follow up. All right. Woo!
There's so many comments in the chat room. Very appreciated. But a question was, how many counselors do you work with, and do they share your Bridge of Learning SEL?
So,
and we're not done yet. So
yeah, we just have a few more, but we're almost done. We have a few more slides.
Yeah.
So I work with one additional school counselor, and actually 2 school counselors and 1 social worker. And this year, actually last year, against my advocacy, we each got a grade. So, the social workers were each in charge of 1 grade and were more social emotional. And then the 11th and 12th grade were school counselors, and we were social emotional and academic. We still had to push in. So we decided, listen, let's work as a team, and let's figure this out, and let's merge our lessons, and let's do this together, and let's co-facilitate. So there is 4 of us. There is 1 per grade right now. So I have a caseload of about right now I have a caseload about 160 students, seniors. But that includes the mandated or the college and career readiness, includes SEL. I run 3 different teams. So when you have a smaller caseload, they tend to think that you're more available, which is not always the case. But that's my reality. So that's where I am right now. And do they share my passion? They do not. But they love my passion, and they are amazing colleagues, and they rock and roll. So really, I just have to ask them, and they're down. They're down for the cause. So, but they're not going to do it on their own. Like, if I'm not doing it and I'm not pushing it, like, it's not going to happen. So, it's my train right now. I'm driving the train, but I have support.
Yeah. Well, it's time for us to hear from our participants.
Yes. Screencastify. Love Screencastify. Oh, wow. Look at this. Proactive. I love it. And proactive takes time and energy, and it's so worth it. Just want to move
See if I can show more of what's coming in.
Google Classroom.
So this is also another feature that's free. You can set up different kinds of polls, the words, the check off like this, so it groups them.
Did somebody buy a better chair? I actually got better chairs from my kitchen from Amazon during COVID because I couldn't sit in the same place.
Yes. See, that is so true. Self-care, right?
Yeah.
You don't realize how uncomfortable your furniture is until you're sitting on it all day.
Mm-hmm. I love. Continue to advocate for our program. And truly, when you have to advocate, it's so important to have your research backed behind you, and downloading the New York State guides, the New York Education Department guides, the social and emotional learning, systematic guide to implementation. It gives you all the how, what, where, and why it's so important.
Yes, you folks really need to come back for our February 8th session, where we're going to be picking up right where we've been leading to through all of this. So I'm going to need to move us on. I think you can keep adding your comments, and they will be saved.
Yes.
Do we have to sign up for February 8th or no?
Mm-hmm.
Registration for each of the 5 programs was separate. Yes, so you have to sign up for each one the same way. Okay. So I said that I would show you where everything is being housed. When you see that link, NYSCA.org/ChampCamp 2, this is where it takes you. And you can see the description of the program, and you'll see available here. These are the resources from the first Champ Camp, and all of the resources from this one are available here. And when you click on that, it takes you to a Google Drive, and here you will find all of those things that are listed in the PowerPoint. One of the things is a PDF of the PowerPoint, which also has live links, so you'll be able to get it either way. Let's see if I can get us back to, let's see. So here are the links to the publications that we mentioned, and also to that site. And Lisa or Christy, you want to speak to this one?
Sure. Here are the links to what we used and what we showcased today. Polls everywhere, YouTube. This is the link to how to make your own YouTube channel, Screencastify, Google Slides, how to make a choice board using Google Slides. That's a YouTube video, Doodly, and Vocaroo.
And I wanted to add with this that in the spring, when we first went into shutdown, that I was using Screencastify and doing my videos every single day, which was also great because I would do my video while I was walking, and then I would post it with my joke for the week. And then that's how stuff started to develop. So students were really looking forward to that. So be okay with starting small. Plant that seed. Start small, little video, send it out. Set up your Google Classroom, get a little video, get your little joke of the week, or whatever speaks to you and you think will speak to your students, and start with that, and then own that, and then grow on it, right? And then build on that. Because if you try to do all of it, it's really just gonna overwhelm you because you're already doing so many other things. So don't do too much where it's gonna discourage you. Just start small.
Yes, I do.
Grow a team and start small. There's people out there that want to help you and want to share a do something moment. Start small and go for it.
Thank you.
On the screen are the upcoming programs. Someone asked what was the title of the next one. It's called Making Your Efforts Count on Monday, February 8th. We then have one on roles and the MTSS, how does your flow chart flow? One on your advisory council, and one on the power of access. So we have quite a bit coming up. We hope you'll be able to join us for more. A few housekeeping items. Again, people are asking, will we get all of this? Yes, it's all in the PowerPoint, the handouts, and all will be housed on that Champ Camp 2 site with links to anything that we've mentioned. All attendees will be receiving a certificate of attendance in the mail, along with a short evaluation link. We do ask you to give us your feedback that way. We are, excuse me, an approved CTLE provider. So if you need CEUs, that is something we will also include in that emailing. This recording and other programs that have been recorded are all available on NYSCA's YouTube channel. And to help us finish up, I'd like to turn it over now to NYSCA's Executive Director, Bob Rotunda, who has a few words to say. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Bob, and allow you to start sharing yours.
Unmute.
Hey.
Is Gail here?
Yes, she is. I'm incognito. I had some work done in my living room, so this is what I look like this evening. Gloria, Lisa, Christy, excellent, excellent, excellent job. You guys make NYSCA proud. Thank you, counselors from far and near, for attending our professional development. I am Gail Reed Barnett, the chairperson of NYSCA's committee of the professional development. Dr. Cynthia Wiley is our president. Dr. Kathy Corbett, who is the public relations and marketing person. Bob Rotunda is our executive director. Lisa Mesa is on here. I saw her earlier. She's our membership chair. And Cheryl Hall is our member as well. Again, excellent job. I'm ecstatic. We've done a lot of PDs. We're going to continue doing PDs. I believe Gloria showed you the slide for our next PDs, and Bob will send them out to everyone. Our next professional development is CHAMP, which will be February 8th, Making Your Efforts Count. Check your email, the NYSCA website, and the calendar for registration information. Again, if you would like to send us any information, if you have any concerns or ideas, or if there's a PD that you would like for us to do, by all means, send us the invitation or comments to profdev@nysca.org. I saw one of my students, Mel Sean Crawford, a shout out to him. I saw a friend of mine that I worked with many, many years ago, Shayla Washington, a shout out to you. I saw one of our past presidents, Kristen Shear, was on here earlier. So I'm just excited because we're doing some great things, and we're gonna continue doing great things. You know, NYSCA is like, I can't do without NYSCA. So if you are not a member and you want to become a member, you can email our chairperson, Laura Mesa. And for our next presentation, we had over 300. Let's see if we could do 500. So each counselor, I'm going to challenge you to bring another counselor to get this wonderful information.
Or principal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, principals. Okay.
Let's educate our principals on
Oh, most
that's great.
definitely. They do need the education of what counselors really do.
Yeah.
So without further ado, hi, Shalay. Without further ado, I will turn it over to our Executive Director, Bob. Shalay, give me a call.
Thank you, Gloria, Lisa, Christy, and Kristen. I think we're done, right?
Yeah, I would just like to finish up by thanking everyone who came today. Time is precious, and I hope we made the 2 hours as worthwhile as we could, and that you'll come back again, because without you, we're just, having fun with each other, and we really need all of you to make this all worthwhile. So thank you, spread the word, and we look forward to seeing you the next time.
One more thing,
You're
Gloria.
you're all champs.
Gloria, before you go, I just want to give a shout out to Gloria Jean, who's also our past president. She was also professional development chair. So I kind of like take after her. So how am I doing?
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank
And
you.
be safe and wear a mask.
Stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.